You're about to listen to Final Frontier News. To listen to full 3-hour episodes of Final Frontier News, please visit rageinternetradio.com or visit the link in the description box down below.
You're listening to Final Frontier News.
Good evening, everybody. Tonight, we are going to go from being April 26th to April 27th within the next hour as we get into it about all kinds of things that are going on in the world right now and in space and secrets about space and devious Dave Rose. Dave Rose is frothing at the mouth to speak with us tonight about several things that we may not know about, many things that maybe probably the average person hasn't known about and does not know about. And also there's apparently some alien structures or possibly just some coincidental structures on Venus. Dave, how you doing tonight?
Thanks so much for having me here on Final Frontier News. It's a pleasure.
We talked a little bit more. We talked a lot actually before the show started, but we really didn't get into too many specifics, which I like that. In pretty much every format, every show I do, I probably need more structure, but I do like the idea of not knowing what we're getting into. There's something about that that's very curious to me. So let's start right off the bat with these structures real quick, because that's kind of the big tease, and we'll get more into it maybe later. But right now, you know, apparently these photos on Venus show structures. Are they just like many structures sometimes we see where it's interpretation of your view or what you're seeing or how your mind works? Or is there undeniable evidence? You know, some scientists and some people coming out, professional photo, editors and stuff like that, are all chiming in about, how this and that happens. But usually it takes a lot longer before that stuff comes out. Like, nobody has really debunked this yet, but over time, usually people do. And I'm surprised that I haven't heard anybody yet today come out and say, well, this is why you're seeing that. What do you gather from this, if anything, Dave?
Well, this story actually just broke yesterday, and you'll find a lot of different websites talking about this, but they're not really giving too much more information. What's established so far is that this information that these individuals are referring to is coming from the Magellan probe that went off to Venus in 1989. In 1990, most of that information that was retrieved by that probe was sent back to Earth and analyzed, and now it's being pushed forward by these certain individuals who are coming out and stating that there are certain artificial structures on Venus, and that these CGI images, if you want to call them that, are indicating this sort of thing. My analysis is that although it's a little early to tell, this is a little suspect from the get-go, and there's several different reasons to discuss in that. But first, I want to hear your opinion, Joe. What do you think about what we've heard so far about these artificial structures on Venus?
Yeah, I think it's a little bit too early to tell, because like the first part of me says, like, well, the fact that it's a news story is interesting, and then the photos that I've seen so far look very interesting, actually, the way they're set up and the way they're patterned. It's their patterns that gets me interested. So I would say that I have a high interest level in these, but I want to see what they're going to tell me. What are they going to say? What are those people in the government going to say to us? What are they going to come up with to either, cover this up or to actually debunk it? And usually it goes one of those ways, and there's nothing else really but that. To cover it up or to debunk it.
Now, you raise a great point there, because we saw the exact same thing with regards to the Mars face that was discovered initially in the 70s.
Right. And we got more info on it.
Later on, we had supposed updates and images stating, no, that was not a face, that was just the land structure, and this is our explanation. And therefore, you could take it one way or another. So we have seen, just as you've said, a sort of attempt to address these sorts of things after the fact.
Right, exactly. Like everybody goes off and gets excited and, oh man, there's a Martian there, or there's a structure that the aliens left for us. I think there's a lot of validity to alien structures being left for us in many other situations. Just perhaps not this one, but at the same time, perhaps not. There's also many situations where there's things left for us and it gets brushed under the rug and we never hear about it. But they couldn't wait to show us how that face was not really there, or perhaps how they could Photoshop that image about it's not really there.
Very good point. Sometimes we see a very ambitious attempt to say, look, we told you that your crazy ideas were wrong. And when you see a quick attempt to address these sorts of things in such a manner, you do have to be skeptical, because why are you being so aggressive in the attempt to defend your stance? After all, NASA is an organization that has always promoted the idea that there could be life out there, and with the potential water on all these different planets in their solar system, that is a possibility. So why be so defensive when it comes to trying to disprove that perhaps there was life in the solar system at some point?
Well, with that being said, we mentioned earlier you had many things that you wanted to say, and that's what really sparked me. When I listen to somebody speak about what maybe they're passionate about, or what topic, or what we're going to go into, a lot of stuff sounds good. Like, okay, this sounds like a great idea. We could talk about this. We could do that. But when you brought up to me the topic of, the government, or space agency, or the cover-ups, or the what they don't want you to know type of stuff, that is what really intrigues me, because I hear it time and time again from certain different people over the years, and sometimes people that don't know each other, that don't even like the same things, and some of their stories kind of match up the same way or sound very similar, yet they never met each other. So I'm very curious to hear these things that you spoke of earlier, and put it in the words of what are we missing out on as far as discoveries on planets. It seems like we get all the information, but that's not true.
Well, it's definitely not true that we get all the information, but because clearly information is power, and those in power would prefer to keep it to themselves. But more importantly, we have to be pragmatic and be honest. If you were in power and you had knowledge of these sorts of things, you would clearly understand that you would not just let this known to the public, because it would probably create some sort of outrage or insanity, rioting. So you have to look at things in a balanced manner. But more importantly, what is it specifically that we're talking about? And it is things that could shake up the entire world. Gary McKinnon was an individual who, in 2002, was accused and attempted to be extradited to the United States for hacking into the United States military and finding information that showed that there was an off-world Navy, if you want to call it that. Essentially, off-world personnel transfers was information that he found. This was indicating a space fleet that existed in orbit of Earth that was independent.
This episode is actually 2 hours long. You've heard a sample of the episode. To listen to the full episode, please visit RageInternetRadio.com to support us and listen to all the unbelievable talk and podcasting of Final Frontier News. Plus, when you go to RageInternetRadio.com, you'll also have access to every single other show on the network.